Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Intersections of Saccharum, the sweet spot where creativity thrives. We're your hub for discovering poetry and prose, all submitted to us by our incredible community. I'm Sylvia Kalina.
And I'm Joseph Kane. Sylvia and I are here with a unified vision to write together, create compelling audio content, and foster a unique community for writers and artists.
This podcast is our experiment designed to be enjoyable, engaging, and genuinely thought provoking. We sincerely welcome you and thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Today is our third episode. We're really excited to read and review a poem submitted to us by Dogwood of June called Kept in the Dark. All right, so we're going to get into it. I think we're going to go stanza by stanza today when we read.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a longer poem, so we'll take turns.
Sounds good. Kept in the dark. Their eyes look to the stars, drawn to the lights, seeking heavenly guidance.
But you, your eyes on the ground, for your heart knows the depths, your soul hears her calls. Keep digging, go deeper.
They want to soar, so they go high. But what of those with clipped wings? So you go low, retired from fighting gravity. Search the depths to find your meaning.
Darkness may swallow you, but she will not consume you. Her canary sings for eternity. Her smile says it all. Leave, let them fly too close to the sun.
Make your mark, O unremarkable one. First dwell in the silence of the tomb. Listen for her dirge of closing remarks, the lull of the songs of her womb, the tune of her three timeless truths, the gift of solitude. Death precedes life. You will rise again.
Stay with your new awakening to the aches of heart and stomach, the deep groanings of a starved spirit. Darkness is unknown, shrouds of mystery, but at least she will not burn you, so keep digging, go deeper.
Scratch the surface, then beneath 6 feet under, beyond rock bottom. Diamonds are mine by touch, longing to see them glitter in the light, but don't resurface just yet.
Sink into the depths beyond the grasps of cords of deceit, where the roots of seeds of discord sown can no longer reach you. Do you really seek truth?
Shovel until you unearth yourself, until you are no longer blinded by light's deception, until you grasp the wisdom found only in the depths. It's not so black and white.
Know to stay low, away from the allure of flashing lights and spotlights. Only when they turn off and the curtains close and all fades to black, you shall see the stars again.
Then emerge from the depths illuminated by the midnight candle. Let the moon shine upon you. Beneath her glow you will glisten with the diamonds adorned only by those formed by pressure, those unremarkable creatures who made a killing dwelling in the depths. Mm-hmm.
That was nice.
Best.
I liked rotating back and forth.
Yes, very nice.
So, Kept in the Dark is a poem that I think many people will find quite unconventional. And I know we've done our podcasts previously going stanza by stanza. This time we won't exactly do that because it is a bit of a longer poem, and there's some things that Joseph and I kind of really wanted to dig into that's a little bit more based on philosophy and psychology, even a little bit of spirituality. So we're going to try something a little bit different this time. So with this poem, June challenges what is probably the more traditional beliefs of light and darkness and proceeds to teach us 4 different things: to turn inward, to really discover and consider more about who we are, to find out what we are made of, and then finally, how to grow or form or transform ourselves. Most people might view darkness as a void or something to be afraid of, or maybe even consider it metaphorically to be representative of such things as ignorance or deception. But June frames it as fertile ground for profound self discovery and the unearthing of our individual, genuine truths. The poem contrasts those seeking external validation and looking for heavenly guidance, symbolized by her opening lines about looking to the stars, with those who are drawn into their own dark inner worlds in a search for these truths.
Hmm. So vices, things like addiction and past traumas form these dark inner worlds that we have to journey through to find inner peace. June does a great job of reminding us of foregoing the outside world, which has created scenarios that have built up unstable architecture in our soul, so that we can plant seeds that will grow towards the true divine and eternal spark and illuminate the darkness. And she sort of forces us to consider the experience of feeling grounded and even being held back by the clipped wings, to find solace and strength, not in soaring high, but in diving deep within.
Now, this isn't to say that this is a journey into nothingness, but June is telling us it's a necessary stripping away of superficiality and societal pressures. It's a process of listening to the dirge of closing remarks, the quiet wisdom that emerges when all the external noise fades away. And this all actually really made me think about the age-old philosophical question of what is truth? For centuries, philosophers had wrestled with this question, and we can consider Socrates urging us to constantly examine our beliefs, famously stating, "I know that I know nothing." And then there was Plato, whose allegory of the cave paints powerful pictures of how easily we can mistake shadow for reality, trapped by our limited perceptions and the comfortable illusions we accept.
So, if they say that light is the truth, then I think truth is the light that you shine on the darkness. Not these neon lights that cast these shadows of vice that distract you from it. It's the light that forces you to examine the darkness in order to truly discover yourself. Although I'm not talking about the darkness of those shadows in Plato's cave, which sidetracks this journey of self-discovery. June's poem does the work to differentiate this idea of the fullness of what pure darkness is. That darkness which we have likened to the void of pre-creation, which June has nudged us to find within ourselves as a sort of womb for the rebirth of our true self.
Yeah, I think June wants us to see that the true value lies there in the darkness, like diamonds, formed under pressure, extreme pressure, in fact, and found through unseen work in the depths. So she's also boldly cautioning us against the deceptive allure of flashing lights and spotlights. Her lines from the poem, advocating instead for a patient descent beneath the surface, beyond rock bottom, to a place where the roots of negativity can't reach. Kind of like how she uses the idea of diamonds, because obviously we all have to go digging for diamonds if we're going to find them, and then just the fact of how they're made. So I like how she uses that metaphor for finding those diamonds within us. And then here's where I fall in love with June's poem, because she brings up the idea that the darkness is where negativity can't reach. And because many people really do believe that darkness is where the negativity is, I'm willing to bet that even if you are spiritual in nature, or whatever your stances might be on all of this, it's going to be an aha moment for you once you hear those lines. It's just really, I think, beautiful to take it in, pause, and linger there, that the darkness is where negativity can't reach. We often tend to think that the depth of ourselves is where we keep our skeletons in the closet, as the saying goes. But of all the unthinkable things, our mistakes that we don't want anymore, we don't want to know about, we have all these dark desires, these weaknesses, all this stuff. It's true that that's where all of it is, but the darkness is also a pure place that negativity can't reach once you go deep enough, because it's just you. you sitting with you in that dark spot, and it's actually pretty beautiful and profound.
Hmm. Yeah. And we might perceive darkness as fully negative and light as fully positive, but June's poem makes one ponder on the validity of that concept.
Mm.
Um, her poem affirms that this concept, her poem affirms this concept where true darkness and light aren't actually the absence of negativity and positivity. Rather, they are chambers within our soul where an alchemical reaction may happen to bring positivity and negativity together in a neutral state, uh, forming this diamond or gold or philosopher's stone, if you will. Light may have its foundation in a more positive state and darkness in a negative one. However, the through line of June's poem is about the journey of self discovery and transformation of these concepts.
Mm. Yeah. But it also makes me think, what if those lights are just another form of shadow play? And in thinking back to Plato's allegory, the prisoners in the cave genuinely believed the shadows on the wall were reality. They had no other frame of reference, and similarly in our lives, the lights we are drawn to, whether they represent societal norms, popular opinions, external validation, or even certain beliefs we hold, might be reflections of a deeper, more fundamental truth that we haven't yet perceived. The question of, are these lights just another form of shadow play, encourage us to examine things like the limitations of perception. Our senses and even our intellect can be limited, so what we see as clear and bright might not actually be the full picture. The influence of external factors, just as the shadows in Plato's cave are cast by something outside of the prisoner's control, the lights we follow might be influenced by societal pressures, cultural narratives, you name it, even our own biases. So the importance of critical thinking um, should be used to question us, to question ourselves, and think about avoiding blindly accepting what appears obvious and instead to engage in critical self reflection and inquiry. The value of our inner wisdom, of these external lights being deceptive, then means that perhaps true guidance comes from within rather from the heart and the soul, just as June's poem emphasizes.
Hmm. And ultimately, June's poem offers a message of hope and transformation, suggesting that after dwelling in this inner darkness, one will eventually emerge not into the blinding light, but illuminated by the gentle midnight candle, adorned with the hard earned diamonds of self knowledge and resilience. It's a celebration of the unremarkable ones who find extraordinary strength and insight by embracing the power of the unseen and the wisdom held within the dark. Her midnight candle line was
Mm.
such a gorgeous metaphor.
Yeah, it's interesting to think of the moon as a candle. Often we think of probably no light and we only think about the sun as light, but the moon provides its own beautiful light too, right?
Yeah, it's incandescent.
Mm. So, this brings us to the fascinating realm of psychology, which offers its own insights into why we might cling to those lights, even if they don't illuminate true understanding. Freud, with his exploration of the unconscious, revealed how our minds employ defense mechanisms to shield us from uncomfortable truths. Denial, repression, rationalization are all ways we can consciously or unconsciously deceive ourselves and protect our ego or maintain our worldview. And contemporary cognitive psychology further illuminates this with the concept of cognitive biases. Our brains are wired to seek out information that confirms what we already believe, which is called confirmation bias, and to interpret ambiguous information in a way that supports our existing opinions, which is motivated reasoning. It's as if we have like this internal compass that subtly nudges us toward the light of what we want to believe versus what it actually is.
Mhm. Yeah, and to piggyback on the psychology thing, Jung brought this concept of synchronicity into the modern psyche, where we find deeper meaning and coincidences. And the idea of confirmation bias makes me think about how we might get distracted by small wins in our life and forget about the bigger picture.
Mm.
And I'd be alluding to those small lights or the lights that we get distracted by. So yeah, he also wrote a lot about the shadow self and how we must acknowledge our shadow self in order that it doesn't subconsciously overpower our personality. And so the shadow's personality traits are things like pride or arrogance, and we can transform those traits into healthy traits like strength and confidence,
Mm.
where pride is just part of being strong and arrogance is just part of being confident. Uh, but with shadow work, we make sure the negative parts don't consume us. And
Mm.
the shadow work is done in the dark of June's poem here.
Yeah. So then, with that, we can go back to the lines in the poem that say, "But you, your eyes on the ground, for your heart knows the depths, your soul hears her calls." And this part is where June is advocating for this different way of seeking truth that depends on turning inward. With her words, "Fly too close to the sun," June reminds us that we might be blinded by its glare, leaving us unable to perceive the more nuanced and profound truths that lie beneath the surface. In fact, the poem even instructs us to shovel until you unearth yourself, until you no longer are blinded by light's deception, which is actually a really beautiful call for all of us to confront our own biases and self deceptions.
Beyond the philosophical and psychological, this poem also resonates deeply with spiritual concepts. Back to the poem's opening lines, their eyes look to the stars, drawn to the light, seeking heavenly guidance. While seemingly straightforward, could also represent a more externalized form of spirituality, looking to celestial bodies or traditional dogma for the answers. But June's poem pivots with these lines. But you, your eyes on the ground, for your heart knows the depths, your soul hears her calls, suggesting a more inward, intuitive path to spiritual understanding. And finally, the first stanza to talking about those who look to the stars for heavenly guidance reminds me of the Confucius quote: "When a wise man points at the moon, the imbecile examines the finger."
Mm.
Thought that was profound.
Yeah, I like how you pulled that out because I didn't know that quote. Um,
Pretty cool.
but yeah, thinking about the man pointing at the moon, the imbecile examines the finger.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess that so the hand essentially is what the belief then that other people's ideas and all of that is more important, or is it the moon? Yeah.
But then also, it's like the moon is one of these lights outside of yourself as well, so it's actually deeper, and it's like it reminded me of that anyways, because
Mhm.
you get distracted by the frills.
Yeah, well, and yeah, so many different things. I know that June's poem kind of goes against looking up, but even in everyday life, people tend to look down instead of like looking to see really where they're positioned in the world. And this makes me think of that too, actually. Different different concept, but similar train of thought, just to start becoming more aware.
Yeah.
Okay, so going back to the spiritual traditions that emphasize the importance of inner wisdom and connecting with a deeper, more authentic self, we can relate this to some of the Eastern traditions of Hinduism, where Shiv represents consciousness and the masculine principle, often associated with stillness, and Shakti represents energy and the feminine principle, often associated with dynamic power, even within darkness. June's poem embraces the darkness as a space for profound understanding that can be seen as honoring such things as the yin and Shakti principles, and then recognizing that the immense power and truth reside within quiet contemplation in the inner depths. Various schools of Hinduism also emphasize inward realization through practices like yoga. And in June's poem, she refers to it as the dirge of closing remarks that can be seen as the quieting of the ego to allow deeper wisdom to emerge in these quieter type practices. In essence, many Eastern spiritual traditions echo the poem's profound message of finding truth and transformation through an inward journey into the depths, where the seemingly opposing forces of light and darkness, stillness and energy all converge.
Mm. So beautiful.
Mm.
I think so. In considering Eastern spiritual paths, we find powerful parallels. Yoga and meditation emphasize inward focus to connect with the true self, mirroring the poem's call to the heart and soul. The yoga concept of Atman aligns with this inner guidance as well. And Buddhism focuses on introspection and shedding illusions, as well as the idea of no self, resonating with the poem's urging to strip away superficiality and the unremarkable one finding strength within. We can also consider the principles of Taoism. The Tao highlights the importance of the internal, and the concept of yin and yang offers a beautiful perspective. While yang embodies light, activity, and the external, yin represents darkness, stillness, and the internal. And both are essential and complementary, mirroring the divine masculine and feminine principles found in many traditions.
So, this is interesting to think as we're talking about this and reading through this all right now. It's actually making me think back with yoga because everything that we do in life is actually like a sifting and a sorting through all of the external stuff. Like, even in meditation, to be able to successfully do what meditation is supposed to do for you, you still have to sift through the noise. So I'm like just thinking back to how she's talking about digging for diamonds, which is an even more apt description considering like even the stages of meditation or the stages of going deeper within ourselves will be tricked into looking at the lights even inside ourselves or whatever sparkly things on our way down, thinking that we found the key. But in reality, we actually really, really, really have to go deep. And it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of work. Not even with ourselves, but even with relationships too. You know, there's so many things, everything that we can think of.
Yeah.
The work we pursue, the crafts we pursue, writing. Even writing is an interesting example to think about it because like how many of us ever really sit down and just always write something great? Like we have to rework the words, we have to rethink the thoughts, we have to present it in a way. So it's in essence almost something similar to, I don't know. I was just thinking about all that.
Uh, I started thinking about like how like graphite is dark and like you have to sift through the darkness to find the words.
Mm,
And
mm.
like we use charcoal or like I don't know, just usually ink is dark. I don't know. That's cool. My yeah, my brain works in abstract ways, but
No, it's
because
actually really beautiful.
you got a white page and you put a bunch of darkness on it, trying to find the true light of your words. Oh, that's cool. I don't know.
I like that a lot. Our
That's
next
pretty cool.
our next poem.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, June.
The inspiration is flowing.
Yeah.
All right. So, as we contemplate Kept in the Dark, we're left with a powerful invitation to consider our own relationship with truth. And hopefully, it spurs some interesting thoughts from all of you, just like it did for Joseph and I. Um, with its profound and multifaceted wisdom, June urges us to look beyond the obvious and explore the richness that lies in the often unexplored depths of our inner world. Whether you connect with it through philosophical questions about truth, psychological insights into self discovery, or the spiritual resonance of inner wisdom, the poem ultimately reminds us that the most illuminating insights are often forged in the darkness, waiting to be unearthed by those brave enough to turn inward and listen to the unique truths that reside within. Or, at bare minimum, even just start the journey. Who knows what you might find.
Hmm.
All right, so I hope you can see why, when June sent us this poem, we were very keen to get into it and think about it a little bit more. The poem is by June, and on Substack she goes by Dogwood of June. Um, so we hope that you can see why we chose to go with the poem by Dogwood of June, as she goes by on Substack, for our podcast today. And I hope that you've enjoyed the themes that drew us into wanting to read Kept in the Dark and present it for you today. We want to send out a huge thank you to June for gifting us the honor of exploring Kept in the Dark. And not only did we enjoy exploring it, we hope that you, as our community on Substack and wherever you might be listening, kind of enjoy the little deep dive as well.
Yeah, thank you, June. This was an incredible experience. We'll include the links to June's Substack so you can find her and follow her publication called Dogwood of June. So please be sure to check that out and follow and support her.
In closing, as we wrap this episode of Intersections of Saccharum, we want to thank you for joining us. Thank you to all our listeners and viewers who have been tuning into our episodes, and thank you to those of you who are new. We truly have the most amazing subscribers and followers, and we have the biggest love and gratitude for all of you. We absolutely could not do this without you.
Yeah. We believe every piece we share with you is a testament to the incredible talent within our community, and we're honored to have this platform to feature it.
We hope you subscribe not only to us, but our featured writers. And if you love what we're doing, please do share our podcast. It's a great way to help all of us grow. If you would like for us to feature your poem next, you can send us a DM to either Joseph or myself, or you can email us at thebroomsedgetribe@gmail.com. And we'll be back with another episode soon.
Yay.
Yay.